Thanks for joining us. I'm Marlin Bohling with you as we watch our ag commodity trade here on a Tuesday. Well, we found out that we had a freeze event, actually a couple of freeze events in Amarillo, Texas in the last week or so. And I want to jump across the country right now and find out what's going on the East Coast. Let's check out on the Mid-Atlantic Coast region by going to the mill in Whitehall, Maryland, where we have Ben Hushon standing by. And Ben, I always enjoy a chance to visit with you this time of the week and find out what's going on there. So you're right along the eastern seaboard there. A lot of times the water very close by, close proximity, will kind of moderate temperatures there. So we had a freeze out in the plains. Have you gotten in on the cold weather where you are?
Good morning, Marlin. Yes, we have. We were heavy frost this morning, about 36 degrees, and I think the biggest change is as late as Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, high 70s, 80s. We had shorts and T-shirts everywhere, and then to wake up this morning and have ice on the windshield was quite a change, that's for sure.
All right, yeah, you had sent some photos in. We're seeing the frost evident on the hillsides there right now. So did that really have much impact? I mean, are your crops pretty well done for the time being for this year where it wouldn't have any damage potential?
Well, Marlin, most of the corn is. There's a little bit of late corn that some of the dairymen plant, and they know they always run that risk. But on the beans, there's a lot of beans. Go back to May, we were talking about soybeans that had to be replanted even though they were full season. So there's a fair amount of them that, and obviously the full season, or excuse me, the double crop beans that certainly we'd like to have another week or two. But golly, it's October now, mid-October, so it's not uncommon for us to start having frost, even a week ago typically.
Well, I know you've been talking with us about the active harvest of corn around that part of the country, and a lot of folks are really surprised to learn how good the corn can be around there.
It is. In fact, yesterday, I'll tell you a little bit what happened. A week ago, we had 1 to 3 inches of rain and wind, and people decided they could, and stalks blew down, tops blew out all over the country. And they decided they may not be able to let it dry down much more. So 19-20% moisture. I was in at the local grain handling facility, Mom-Pa Farms, yesterday with some corn, and they said they're seeing hardly anything in the teens. Almost everything being brought in is 20 to 22. But it makes sense. We're 250 to 300 growing degree units behind last year. So it just makes sense that it's going to be a little bit slower to dry down, and folks are getting anxious because those fields, as farmers would say, are getting a little ugly with stalks. But yields have been above average to good.
Now, you were mentioning here a while back when I spoke with you about the fact that they're making very active use of cover crops around there, right?
They are, and this is typical, Marlin, for farmers. I've been telling you for 2-3 weeks here every Tuesday how the corn harvest has been slow. Corn won't dry down. And just happened to catch sight yesterday, the Towson Farms up in New Park, they have cover crop, and it just reminded me, while folks were waiting for corn to dry down, they jumped in there. Drills and either drilled in some cover crop or planted, spun on, just continuing. Literally, as soon as fields are done being harvested, folks in the east are looking at ways to stop what they're doing, and in this case, take use of some dead time and get out there and get some cover crop on. And with last week's moisture and all the heat I just talked about, it's out of the ground shining a week later.
Ben, thanks for the update on what's going on around the Mid-Atlantic region there in Maryland, Whitehall, Maryland to be exact. Ben Hushon is with the mill, and we always look forward to your updates. We'll talk with you next week.
Marlin, hope your viewers and listeners have a safe harvest week.
You bet. I echo that. Thanks, Ben. We'll talk to you soon. We'll pause for a break, and we'll come back, and I'll run through all your futures trade for you, the grain, the livestock, maybe the outside markets too. We'll be right back. Well, I understand we had a firmer tone in the Dow this morning. Let's take a peek at where we now stand. A lot of folks wondering about that. You know, when we checked here about a half an hour or 45 minutes ago, we had the Dow actually kind of easing back off its early highs, about 6 higher at that time. Now we're up about 22 points again. 22,979 is where it now stands, so flirting with that 23,000 mark there. Let's take a look at the dollar value too. We had a big surge in the dollar. I want to keep tabs on that here today. On the dollar value on the index, we have December futures now 420 points higher at 93.580. That's only about 10 points off of our high of the day at this point. The more it goes higher, the harder it makes our ag exports to be purchased by foreign buyers. So keep that in mind. That'll could be an important player here when it comes to our ag marketing overseas. What about the crude oil trade today? Well, on the crude, on West Texas crude, we're about 12 cents higher on November futures. We're now priced at $51.99 per barrel, and that had been as high as $52.25. Heating oil trade, typically that will mirror what's going on in the crude, and we have November futures on the heating oil or diesel fuel market in New York about a penny higher at 182.4 per gallon. Now let's look at the grain trade, and on the corn market we had a softer open even though we had 2 big overnight export sales announced from USDA. So let's see where the corn market is currently trading. We have December now turning around, and now it's just fractionally higher by 0.75 cents. 351 1/4 is now our last trade. It's back within about a half cent of its high, the opening range, and the overnight trade, but it's only a 3-cent range overall anyway. March now 3/4 higher at 365. So very, very quiet action here in the corn market so far. If we move on now to the soybean trade, soybeans opened under quite a bit of pressure, and they're maintaining that. November soybeans down 5 1/4 at 985 3/4. January down 5 1/4 at 996 1/4. All the deferred months are still over $10. On the wheat trade in Chicago first, we have December now 3 3/4 higher at 440 1/4 per bushel. That's only 2 ticks from our high of the day, a full nickel off of our earlier low. On Kansas City wheat, here we go with December now trading 2 3/4 higher at 436 1/2 per bushel. That's only 2 ticks from its high of the day. And July now 1 3/4 higher as well at 485 1/2. On the Minneapolis spring wheat trade right now, you have your December contract trading 4 higher at 613 1/2. Little enthusiasm there in the spring wheat trade today. On the cotton market now, we have December currently trading at 67.54 per pound. That's now up 1 point. It has been on both sides of unchanged here today. Let's switch gears and go to the livestock trade. And on the live cattle market right now, you have the October up 66, December now 43 higher at 117.25. Just as we saw earlier today, the nearbys leading the charge higher. February now up 33 at 121.25 per hundredweight. Feeder cattle trade, let's start with November, where we have the trade about 15 lower now at 154.40 per hundredweight. So it's off of its high by about 40 cents. We had been about 25 higher there at one point. January down 12 at 152.43. And on the lean hog trade today, right now you have your December contract 32 higher at 64.02 per hundredweight, and February up 15 at 68.45. April up just 8 cents. So kind of a mixed affair in lean hogs, but maintaining a firmer tone on that nearby December.
And how about that Dow?
How about that?
We'll see. Will we hit
It's hanging in there.
23,000?
It's close.
Oh,
Isn't it?
so
Really
close.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep watching it for today. A little excitement for us on your Market Day Report.